Ready? Okay, welcome back everybody. Before we get started just quickly into the next session, I just wanted to show you the Wi-Fi. I got the Wi-Fi up and running. So under the Attaché Help Centre, what I was referring to was you will have the ability to be able to come in and print out some of these manuals. So here, and this is a work in progress. So the Help Centre is something that's being completely rewritten, but we're also trying to attach as much of our existing documentation as we can to the Help Centre. So you can see down here now, you can come in and you can actually print out the Forms Designer manual itself, and you've got the payroll user guide. So that's accessible, very easily accessible from within BI. And like I said, for those of you that have got accounts, you will be emailed the link that will give you the ability to be able to print these out as well, okay? But you will all get the link for these notes just here, okay, that we were talking about before. Okay, what I'd like to do now is we're going to now move into the Accounts Masterclass. So I'm going to first start off with products and services under Master Files. So under Master File Products, you will note here that we do have products and we have services. There are still a number of clients I know that don't use services, but in actual fact, you know, look, with the experience that I've had, I have had my own consulting business, which was in New Zealand, which I had for 10 years, and I would say most of the clients, not most, 99.99999% of clients would use services. Because things like your electricity, your rent, all those sorts of things are actually services. And with BI, we've introduced cost centres into BI, where you actually will be able to split these services over multiple cost centres. And we're going to have a look at that a little bit later on this morning as well. What's that? Is it the lapel? That'll be because I took my jacket off.
You can centre it up a bit and it's going to clash with
my jewellery.
Pop your jewellery inside.
Sorry, guys. Is that better? Is that? I can put my jacket back on. Okay. Okay. Sorry. I hope the boss isn't watching this. See, if it wasn't live streaming, it wouldn't matter, would it? It doesn't matter, all those people out there in the country. See, this is what happens in the city. Okay. Definitely not going to be a weather girl. Sorry. Is that better? Yep, perfect. Okay. Alrighty. So, yeah, so back to services. So really, every business should set up the service. And I also think it can help, because even if you've got freight, electricity, telephone set up as a service, you then get reporting facilities based on that as well. So it gives you an idea, you know, month to month, how you're going with those things. With products, the thing that I wanted to raise in products, we'll go into services again in a moment, but products is one of the things there, when you're going to maintain a product, don't forget about the barcodes. More and more businesses today are using barcodes, and Attaché actually has the ability to maintain unlimited number of barcodes. So if you're buying the same product from 2 different suppliers and their barcodes are different, you actually can keep those barcodes on file as well as the product code itself. So there's no limit to the number of barcodes that you can have. The other thing with products is making sure that you utilise the features and the functionality on the master file that are available to you, like allowing alternatives, okay? Or is the item superseded? So if you have a product that now is superseded by another one, well, you don't want for a client to ring in and say, have you got that? And the operator go, well, no, we don't have it anymore. We don't sell it anymore. So you can use the facility to say that it's been superseded by, and then they know that it's been superseded by another product, and you don't lose the sale. The same with allowing alternatives. Just because you don't have a black one, a dark brown one might be just as good. So allowing alternatives if the product isn't available. So just some extra little things there that people seem to miss a little bit. The other one is the purchase conversion. If you're buying in stock in a pallet of 144, but you're keeping that in dozens in the system, or you're buying a box of 12, but you want to keep it in the system as individuals. Okay, so purchase conversion is available, and again, I'm talking when I'm saying that one product, the purchase conversion could be completely different to the next product. Okay, so have a look at that as well. So I'm highlighting things that you may use, you may not use, but things that you may be able to use and didn't even know were there. So the other one here is the website and the linked information. Yes, you might put the website in of the people that you purchased the product from. But the other thing that you could do, I know a lighting company up in Brisbane, they use it for their specifications. So the big lights that they have for concerts and things like that, the lights actually project out so far in front and so far out to the side. So all those specifications they actually have in a document in that linked information that then their staff can actually get access to, that gives them more information about the actual stock item itself. Okay, so it's not, you can use it for all different sorts of things. It's thinking outside the square, really. Okay, you will notice that with Attaché BI, we do have the ability, if I'm sitting in maintain mode here at the moment, I'm in add mode. So if I called up a particular product and I now decided that I wanted to have a look at the quantities to see how many I've got in stock, obviously I can't see that, but I can toggle on that. And it says to me, do you want to exit without saving the changes? Yes, I do. And it takes me straight into inquiry. So this is the same with customers. If you were entering in notes, okay, you might be in the inquiry mode. So if I came out of here and I went into customers and went into maintain, the same thing happens. Actually, I won't. I'll go into inquire. The same thing happens in here. If I call up a customer, I can actually toggle. So I might look at their balances, look at their transactions, and I'm talking to them about those transactions, and now I want to add a note. Well, if I have the actual right menu access to be able to do that, then I can come in and I can hit notes and I can add my notes. I don't have to go out into maintain to do that. With BI, the other thing that we have as well, just remember with notes, it's great because you can key a note in, but then you have to enter for it to date stamp it, and it puts in the actual author, and you can accept it. The other thing that we have is Memo. And Memo actually enables you to be able to do free-flowing text. Okay, and there's no limit to the amount of that free-flowing text that you can add in. Okay. So that's looking at the products. Now, if we look at the service, I'm going to go into services, so master files, products. We've looked at the products. I'm going to go into services and choose maintain. And I actually have a service in there for cleaning. If I do clean, got cleaning. And the thing that I wanted to show you here was you have the ability now for multiple GL cost centers. Now this is just with BI, okay, not with accounts. So what you have is the default cost center. So if ever I entered in an invoice for cleaning, that's the default cost center that it would go to. By turning on the multiple GL cost center dissections, this one here, if I page down now, or I could have clicked on the tab and I would have got into trouble because I should use the tabs. You can tell how long I've been using the software, page down, page down. So here under the GL, the expense dissections, you can see here, I have my GL codes, and that's what most of you would probably do. You would split it over the general ledger codes that you have set up in your chart of accounts. So your chart of accounts ends up with all these multiple cost centers. So you split your cleaning up, your electricity, your telephone, and you'll have different GL codes there. So each one of those actually is a different GL code, okay, for cleaning. But in actual fact now, with the cost centers, which we're going to look at again a little bit later on, you can actually split the cleaning and everything over different GL, over different cost centers. So I can say that one's 25%, put in that one, and that's actually going to be 25% as well. Okay? So you can actually now, with BI, instead of having your chart of accounts with all the different cost centres that you've got, you can actually have cost centre reporting. Now, at the moment with BI, there is only one report that you can get out, which Ratish is going to show you a little bit later on, which is the transactions by account report. But in the next update to Attaché BI, in Attaché BI 3.2, there are actually cost centre reports for your standard P&Ls and some budgets and things like that. Okay. All right, so that's just looking at the cost centres. The dimensions we already talked about. We looked at the dimensions for each of the products. And that's, again, that will depend on the type of industry you're in as to whether you will be able to use those or not. Okay, the other thing, and I know I've chopped from products to services, but I want to go back to products. There's two additional things in here that, again, that we do get asked about on the hotline. One of them is the special maintenance, and the other one is the price update. So with the special maintenance, this is where I can come in and I can copy or modify groups of products. Okay, so if I page down, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm just going to show you. If I choose to modify, this is where the question marks act as wildcards. Now, so you can change any one of the question marks, hit F9, and it will then go in and update the range of products that you might have put in here. So you may have ranged on a group of products or a product range or a particular supplier. They're changing some details, okay? So if you do that, the one thing that I would strongly recommend is to do an archive beforehand, okay? And I do have a dear client in New Zealand, well, an old client of mine in New Zealand, BMV International, and the lovely lady over there, she went through and did this, and they had 3,500 stock items with the same description. Okay, so just be wary of it. I mean, I think you should all know about this functionality. It is there and you should use it, but things that you haven't used regularly, you use with caution, yeah? So, but if you needed to come in and change the general ledger set or the supplier, you know, you've got a group of products that you bought from one supplier and now you're buying them from somebody else and you want to be able to update that against the product, well, it's a lot easier to come in here and actually change the supplier code wherever it is, okay, than having to do them all individually, okay? So that's your special maintenance. You can come down as well and change the prices, okay? And you can also change, if you aren't using your reorder levels or your reorder quantities or minimum maximum, if you wanted to, you could come in here and do that for a group of products and just test it to see how it all goes. Okay, so that's the special maintenance. We've still got the dimensions that you can add in as well, and obviously your custom fields. But the important part is to look at what you're going to be grouping here first, because you might not want to do all of them. Yeah. The other one is the price update. So here under price update, you have the ability to be able to come in and increase or decrease any of your 6 selling prices. So I can come in here and say, yes, I want to increase this price number 1, the retail price. I'm going to increase it by a percentage, not by an amount. So I want a percentage, and that percentage is going to be 1%. And that's going to be based on the current price, the current retail price. Whatever the current retail price is, I want you to go and increase it by 1.5%. Okay, so you can increase, decrease, and you can do ranges as well. So it might be just on a group of products or a range of products. Okay, so that's the price update. Alrighty. Are there any questions on any of the master file information that you currently use? How many people here use stock? Oh, okay, good. Okay, so it's 50-50. I like the way people just do this. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Okay, sorry, did you have a question at the back?
Yeah, just want to say, is there any way of getting a second line for a product, so that there's sort of on an invoice where there might be a slight description or something of the product?
Is there, okay, so the question was, is there any way of getting a second line on an invoice, a product customer invoice or a purchase order? If there is an extra description or something that you need to key in, you can put in a comment line on the invoice. The next section that we're going to go into is to do with screen layouts and print layouts. So
automatically, like you can't have it on the product, so every time it's ready to a person or an invoice, you will automatically pick up.
Okay, the only way that you could do that would be to use this comment line. So if I look at the product, so you can put in, see this comment line here? So if I called a product up the blender, this line here, the actual comment, you could use that and put something else in there, and that you could absolutely then add onto the invoice print layout. And I can show you how to do that. Yeah, okay. All right, one of the, when I talked about the new technology this morning and the new database, one of the things with Attaché, and I'm going to digress here, so I'm going to be really, really quick, but the existing system, the old account system, it was a flat file structure. So what was happening was, in the early days, we only had one cust.dat.idx. That was it, cust.mast, which was your customer master file. So all the information that you saw on your customer master file was held in there. But that got bigger and bigger because we were adding more and more fields, and we can't fit it all on the one screen or two screens. So then you ended up with cust.mast extension 1, cust.mast extension 2, same with products and suppliers. Moving to the new database, it doesn't matter. So, to do the things like, if we wanted to add more lines, that sort of thing, we can do that sort of thing. So that's where I'm saying it really does move you into the 21st century, and Attaché more into the 21st century, to make sure that your investment, we've extended the life of it. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing that we really want to talk about is designing your screens. Now, and this also sort of comes into your print layouts as well, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But again, I do a lot of this with caution, because I think you could go in here and start to move things around, and then an operator goes in to do something and it's changed, so they can't enter the information as they thought they could have. The other thing also is that if you're importing files into Attaché from third-party systems, you want to be a little bit careful if you're changing screen layouts and things like that as well, because it may break the file. The file may not import anymore because the actual layout of the screen is different. So just be aware of that. But I think sometimes to be able to go in and just change a field to be editable, or change the length of the field, I think it's important to be able to do that. So we're just going to have a look at that. So under setups, if we go into customers, we have here now Screen Designer. And I'm just going to go in, and I'm just looking at what we talked about we're going to look at. Yep, so I'll go in and do an invoice. So this is my invoice screen layout. This is the one that I've got here at the moment, entering in the screen. So I've got the payment terms. It's pretty standard, I suppose, for most people. So it's really easy. If I didn't want the payment terms and I wanted to add the source document field, I could come in here and I could take the payment terms off. So I'm just going to delete that, delete the payment terms, and I'll delete the text word. That's how easy it is to delete those. Okay? Now, if I wanted to add something new in there, I just click where I want it to go. And now I pick up here that I want to, by my function keys, I just want to add some data. I want to add new data to this screen, so I choose data. And now you'll have a whole lot of, couple of pages of information that you can actually add on in the header. I'm talking about the header here. So you can see how many pages you've got there, and there's the source document. So I'm just going to click on source document, and I'm adding that in there. Now I'm going to click over here, and I just want to put the text in that says source document, because obviously when I come in to enter in the invoice, or I want to be able to see here what I'm actually typing in, what that field relates to. Okay? So this is where now on that field as well, if I click on the field and I go F5 modify, you can see here I can make the field editable, or I can make it display only. So that might be because you've set the default up of what you want it to be. in the options, you don't want anyone to change it. So you can make it edit only. Okay? So there's different things that you can do there. You can specify the sequence, so that's number 17, and that's important because what happens is operators will come in and they'll make some changes. You don't want to be jumping from the customer code over to the reference number, then back to the delivery address, over to the delivery date. You want it to flow in the way that you're entering things. So that's the sequence what the sequence number is all about. Okay, so that's how easy it is to add a field. Now, the other thing that I will say to you is you have the zoom in field. The zoom in field has, or the zoom in option, sorry, not field, the zoom in option has a lot more information on it. Whatever you have on that front screen, right, must be on the zoom in. Okay, but what's on the zoom in doesn't have to be on the front screen. That front screen is your summary. It's to make it nice and easy to quickly key in an order or an invoice. But geez, if I need a little bit of extra information, I want to be able to zoom in to get that information. So you can see here, yes. So on the zoom in header information, I've actually included what they have outstanding with us. So if I'm entering in the invoice and I'm thinking to myself, hang on, I think this client actually owed us a bit of money last month. I wonder if they've paid it. You can zoom in and you can come in and quickly have a look. But the other thing that I've done, when I talk about debt collection and how passionate I am about, because I am, it's one area that it never ceases to amaze me how businesses run as banks, but they don't get any interest on the money that they lend out. Okay? You provide a good, you provide a service, you get paid for it. Okay? So a lot of people don't like asking for money, and I get that. So the idea is to try and provide as much information to the customer that you can in the nicest possible way. So the other thing that you can do with that, and I have done this for clients, I'll just save that, when you enter in an actual order, if I was entering in an order, or it can be an invoice as well, on the screen I would put in, now you can put the total amount outstanding, or you could put, so I could put in the balance outstanding on the screen, or I could put the 90 days and the 60 days. So I'm going to put the 90 days there, text, so it shows me that it's 90 days, and I save it. So now what happens is when the operator's keying in an order, they're going to see that if there's any money outstanding in 90 days. What a perfect opportunity to say to the customer, you know what, I can see that you owe us money in 90 days. If I process this order, I might not have a job tomorrow. Is there any chance that we can get some payment? Okay, so it's providing that extra information. Okay, so it's the same as stock lines. When you come in on a stock line, the reason I showed you that was because I can put it on the front screen. I don't have to zoom in, and that's on an order, because I think that's the best time to try and collect the money when they're trying to enter in an order. Yeah. So if I then continue that and we go to the section and we choose a product line, I also have the ability to be able to put in what I want on the product line. So if you don't use back orders, you don't need to have back orders on here. Okay, so you choose what prints on the line. But I also have the ability to be able to zoom in. So when I zoom in on the actual product itself as well, I can see if there's any others that are on order. Because when I entered in that product, it actually came up and put it on back order. Wow, I didn't realise it was on back order. How many other customers have got them on back order? So I can zoom in and I can have a look. Okay? So you can have more information on the zoom in, and you decide this. Here I've got the GP percentages as well. So you decide also what's going to go in on that zoom in screen. So that's for your orders, for your invoices, for your credit note adjustments, not just in customers but in suppliers as well. So for your purchase orders, your invoices, requisitions, you can you design them. Okay? Alrighty. The other thing that you can do on the screen when you're designing the screens now also, if I go back to the order, if I look at properties, you can also with BI change the background colours. So under properties, I can come in here and I can change the color for any of the screens. So a little warning though, if I choose that pink and I click OK and I accept it, it's really bright. Okay, so any of those colors from the properties are really, really bright. So I always suggest to clients, pick the color that you want, but then use the define custom colors, because then you can still grade it down. So I can just say OK, accept, and it just makes it a little bit lighter. So you can choose the colors that you want. Now that was very high, believe it or not, on the priority of wish lists from clients, to be able to differentiate an invoice from a credit note or a purchase order from an invoice, okay? So the ability to be able to do that. Now the other thing also is that different operators might want different colors. So again, because you can set different screens up for different operators, they can actually have their own screens, okay? All right, so what would happen now if we accept that? Save that. Yes, we'll just save it as that. So what happens now is that if I went into transactions and I went into customer orders, create modify, you'll see that it's pink. Now down here I have F7 screen. So if I choose screen, this is where I can come in and pick up a different screen layout. Okay? So depending on the operator. So again, if they don't have the right password levels, the menu access levels, they won't be able to get in to do that. Okay? All right, so printing is the same. Well, it is and it isn't, sorry. When we go in to do our print layouts, if we go into setups, customers, and we go into forms designer, if we look at the invoice, the reason that I show you this is because we actually have, again, you can have different invoice layouts. So basically every customer can have a different print layout as well that you send out to them. And that's attached on their master file as to which one they use. But we've got one here called overdue. And again, looking at our debt collection, you know, we've got an overdue invoice that we email to the customers. And that actual overdue field can be as big or as small as you want, or any color that you want. So if I right click on that, I can actually turn around and say that I want the font of that to be 28. Okay, okay. So when they open it up, it really is, you know, when they open up the email, it's in their face. So again, you can see, you can change these around. I would not recommend that you play with your print layouts without definitely talking to your consultants, okay? Because you've got numbers that add up and, you know, calculations that are made, and you just need to make sure that they are right. So the screen layouts are a little bit different. I would definitely, again, wouldn't be playing with anything in the body that had to do with, you know, quantities or dollar values, because you want to make sure that your invoice totals are right. But it's just to show you that you can, it is easy for the consultants to get in and do it. So you can even, I had a client in New Zealand again, I used Terry as an example. He supplied clothing to Barkers and Hugh Wright and people like that. He didn't want to print out a picking slip and an invoice that he had to send out. So we actually designed an invoice, and the first copy of the invoice actually said picking slip. And it didn't have any prices on that front page. All it had was the product code, the description, and the quantity, and it said picking slip, okay? The second copy, and that top copy went with the goods to the stores. So they knew how many they were unpacking, etc. But the second copy, which actually said invoice and had all the totals on it, went to the shop, the actual head office, yeah? So there's different things that you can do with those print layouts, okay? Alrighty. So moving on from those now, once you've set those up, once you've set those layouts up, if I was going into reports, customers, and I was looking at my documents and I wanted to send out all my overdue invoices. So this is where I can come in and do my range based on my due date, and I can say, yes, I want to reprint them, and I want to print the forms code I want to use is my overdue one. So based on the selections that you put in there, if you're using our online services in the form of Alex, the document delivery, it will then go and email them all, okay, again. If you choose to bundle, so if you have one customer that has 15 invoices that are overdue that you want to send to them, you can actually click bundle. They will receive all 15, but it goes through as one document via Alex, via our online services, okay? So, you know, some of the companies that I've worked with, we've actually set up processes and procedures where they actually go through and run this every Monday for all their overdue invoices. And I promise you, it is the art of the squeaky wheel. The person who yells the loudest will get paid first, and you should all know that because you probably do it yourselves, okay? So it really is identifying the things in Attaché that you can set up, but some of the things that you can even automate via the way of, you know, well, automate the processes so you know what you need to do by way of shortcuts. It's not hard. It really isn't. Okay. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was standing orders, and here's the perfect example of the shortcuts. That was a really good segue, because I always forget what I need to do. We do have, most of you will be aware that we have standing orders in customers, recurring transactions, but we never had it in suppliers, which just, even for me as a consultant, I'm being videoed so I can't say anything, I have to keep quiet. But I always wondered why we did it in customers and not in suppliers, okay? Everyone has recurring transactions in suppliers. So now we have it in suppliers. So I wanted to have a look at that as well. I just wanted to take you through that, the recurring transactions. So what I've done under shortcuts, I've actually set up supplier recurring transactions so that I don't have to worry about going through the menus to find where I need to go. Does anyone use shortcuts? 4, 5 of you, 6 of you, okay. I just think they're a godsend, okay. And I'm using this one because I promise you I always forget the menu access where I need to go to do these. So if you're setting up a supplier recurring transaction, the first thing I need to do is set up a standing purchase order. So if I go into purchase orders, if I have a look under suppliers, I've actually set one up for, I know I've set one up for Ross, and we'll do a search. And there's one for Ross Stationery. So Ross Stationers is somebody that we buy stationery on a regular basis from them, but it's different from 1 week or 1 month to the next. Whatever we're buying is very different, okay? So I've set the standing order up for Ross, but I also set one up for the cleaning company, Linde, Linde. I've actually set one up for them as well, for cleaning, for $2,000. We've got a $2,000 cleaning bill every month. Okay, so I've set the standing orders up. The next thing I need to do is I need to then enter the recurring schedule. So I need to say, when is it due to be paid? When are we paying these? Creating the schedules. So if you have a look on Linde, I have a schedule set up for them. We pay them date-based and it's monthly. The next time, or the next occurrence that we're going to have to pay, because it's on the 25th, 1 month ahead. So this one's going to be due on the 25th of October. Okay? Now, you can set up your own parameters. So even if they are lease payments and things like that, where you have 25 payments of a particular amount of money, or it starts on this date and finishes on that date. Okay? And you don't have to remember them. You don't have to worry about it. So you can set those parameters up here. It's our normal supplier. Okay, so it's just set up, the actual invoice details is based on the normal supplier terms. But if I page down, this invoice is paid in full because it's direct debited from our account. Okay, so this is something you could set one up for Attaché, because we send you an invoice every month. So you could set up a schedule for Attaché. It's monthly and it's paid because it's direct debited out of your bank account. So once you've set the actual schedule up itself, And see here, I can open the link so that I can go and have a look at the original invoice or the original transaction that we had there as well. So once we've done that, the next thing I can do is now I want to generate it. So I can come in here and I can specify which invoices I actually want to generate. Okay? I can include my on-demand invoices, and an on-demand invoice is the Ross Stationers one. It's on demand. When I do it, then I need to process it. So yes, I want you to include that as well. So it's just that process of setting those up. Okay? And then away you go. There's no more standing journals in your general ledger or anything like that. You've got these are all set up, and you just process them weekly, monthly, however whenever you need to. Okay? All right. We also have that with customers, and I talk about the shortcuts and the shortcut that I've created. If I go to customers here, we have also created flowcharts. Okay, and Ratishka's going to talk about these a little bit later on as well. So here we've got, or am I? Can't remember. Customer recurring transactions, you can see we've got a flowchart here. This is just in BI. Those of you that are familiar with the payroll, in accounts version of payroll, we actually created a flowchart. So this actually enables you to go click on the button and it takes you straight there. So again, you don't need to navigate through menus. The flowcharts take you through the actual flow of the process. Okay. The other thing I wanted to talk about was importing. And in Brisbane, this was very interesting. I've said it a couple of times. If you enter in an invoice for a customer that's, let's say, 20 lines long, I'm just using a hypothetical example here, and then you realise that it was for the wrong customer. You've invoiced the wrong customer. So now you have to go in and do a credit note. Well, within the system, you have the ability to be able to import that invoice into a credit adjustment note. So you don't have to key it all back in again. You can just import it in. You could then even go to the right customer and import the invoice that you invoiced to the wrong one straight across. Okay? And that's all used through that F11 import. So if I went into transactions, customers, and we went to the credit adjustment notes, and we go create, I call the customer up, I come down to the body of the invoice or the body of the credit adjustment note, and here you can see F11 import. So I want to import an invoice, and you choose whether it's by customer code or invoice entry. I go, yep, that's the one I wanted. I invoiced it to Pepper. I'll select everything and accept. It also asks you, do you want to bring in the same prices or not? Okay, and I say yes, because I've made a mistake and I want to credit the whole thing in. The other area that you could use that is if you had 4 or 5 customers that bought the same thing, you could actually import the invoice each time, the same invoice each time, but not update the prices because you want it to look at their customer prices. Okay, so the F11 import is really important as well. Okay, a tool that can again save time but also errors. Okay, one other thing that I'm going to show you, because they've given me the roundup, and I love this. When you receive you get your direct debit statement, you get your statement from your customers, from your bank. I'm trying to do 3 things at once here. See, multitasking. You receive a payment on your bank statement. You see a payment, there's no customer name. All you've got is the invoice number. You go, okay, so now I've got to go through everything to find out who the invoice was for. You can go in and do an inquiry, call the invoice up. But you can also, if you go to Transactions, Customer Payments, enter Payments, on the customer code, if you enter in the invoice number, I have to remember what invoice number I'm using. Sorry. Yes, that's right. So I've received a bank statement. It's got invoice 5029. If I put the invoice number in there and then I go find invoice, it brings up the customer who that invoice was for, and I can continue to process the payment. Nope, that's in accounts as well. Okay, it's been in the system for quite a few years. I won't tell you how many because it just upsets you. Okay, all right, so on that note, I've left you with one little tip that I know somebody's learnt that they're going to be able to use when they get back to the office tomorrow. So that brings us to the end of that session. So we've got another 10-minute break. So all you guys online, go and grab yourselves another cup of tea or coffee, and you guys mill around, and we will see you back here in about 10 minutes. Thank you.